So here's a little flow that takes some of my favorite restorative exercises and puts them into a flow that's got a more yoga, vinyasa, sun salutation-like feel. You can use a dome or a rolled up towel or rolled up yoga mat, or you can skip the calf stretch part and just do the upper body if you don't have that right now. But you'll stand in front of that. And you're gonna inhale, reach your arms out and up and step your right foot onto the dome. As you exhale, let the arms come down as you maybe step this left foot forward till you feel some calf stretch. And then you're gonna inhale, reach that right arm up again and a little side body stretch. And exhale, bring this arm out. And you're going for a stretch in the shoulder, kind of reaching that thumb back as you go down. Good, and you're gonna inhale, bring this left arm up and over for a side body stretch. And exhale, reach that arm out, just like this. Oh, it feels so good. And this inhale, we're gonna come up with our arms and take your left foot back a little bit. And as you exhale, we're gonna bend the knee and bend the hip. So you're getting into some hip mobility there. I'm gonna do that a few times. Inhaling up and exhaling down. A little balancey too. Inhale up, exhale down. Good, try that a couple more times. I'm gonna show you a side view as you do that. So you're going up and down there. I'll show you from here. So we've got your foot's up on the dome, one leg is back, and you're just bending and straightening here with the arms. Good, one more time. And then the next time you come up, big breath in. As you exhale, we'll come off of the dome and we'll have to go to the second side there. So as you inhale, it's gonna be left foot up onto the dome. And as you exhale, right foot's gonna come forward. And inhale, this time it's gonna be left arm up and over first. And exhale, find that shoulder, neck, or arm stretch. Inhale, side bend to the other side. And exhale. Inhale, reach both arms up, and then it'll step this leg back. As you exhale, go into that bend on this other side. Inhale up, and exhale, bend. A couple more times here. This is a great movement for warming up the ankles, the knees, the hips, bringing some movement and circulation to the whole lower body. And a little balancey there. Try that a couple more times here. And maybe one more time. Just going as far as it feels good for your body, so it doesn't have to be a huge bend. Good, and then we'll inhale up. Exhale, you can take both legs off the dome. You can kind of kick it out of the way. And then as we're gonna do some hip hinges here. So with your own breath coming up and down, I'll show you from the side here. You can exhale down and inhale up. But really wanting to have the movement be your pelvis moving over your thighs. So keep going with on the pace of your own breath. Sometimes I'll even take hands to the front of my pelvis, or one hand there, one hand on my pubic bone. Pubic bone goes back and the front of the pelvis goes forward. So it's not a spine rounding bend, it's the pelvis moving with the thigh. That's gonna get your hamstrings waking up a lot. Good, try that. Maybe one more time here. We'll pause here. You can bend the knees, you can round the spine. Whatever kind of forward fold feels good to you. Maybe even move the head or the shoulders around. And then we'll come down to hands and knees or tabletop position. And from there, we're gonna do some big hip circles. And so I like to do a couple in each direction. So try maybe 2 or 3 in each direction. And try to notice if you can let your pelvis untuck. So I'll show you that as you're still doing these circles. So instead of kind of being rounded in the low back like this as you come around, try to untuck, kind of like you're lifting your tailbone up behind you, and that's gonna get you, find some places in the hips that you maybe hadn't been stretching exactly in the same way. Good, then let's come back to center. Spread the fingers nice and wide, and we'll find some rhomboid push-ups here. You can let your head relax as you do this. And so if you've been to my class, you know this movement. It's a great one for our upper backs. If you haven't been to my class, it's just letting your spine go up and down between your shoulder blades. And so you're kind of letting the shoulder blades come together as you let the spine come down, then you're pressing into the ground and then letting the spine lift up. So it's not rounding and arching like cat-cow, but really just letting that spine move in between the shoulder blades. You're mobilizing the shoulder blades, you're creating some strength and some mobilization in the muscles that help keep our upper back from rounding at time. So a lot of us have a lot of curve there. So this is a great one to work on for that. All right, and it's a great strengthener for the arms too. All right, then we're gonna come down to forearms and let your legs go back behind you. And you can try some of the same rhomboid push-ups here. So give your wrists a little break, but still working on the same muscles of the shoulder girdle and the back. If you're getting tired, you can always come down to just your belly and rest. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a couple more strengthening moves for our upper body and core. So yeah, just take a break whenever you need to. So from here, we're going to come to the up part of the rhomboid push-up where the shoulder blades are wide. Breathe here. So keep breathing, especially as we're doing this more strength work. You want to make sure you're breathing. And you can stay here, or you can kind of rotate to one side, and you can reach this arm up or it can stay down. Breathe in. As you exhale, we'll go back through center, and then inhale, you can go to the other side. And just try that a couple times, as long as it feels good for shoulders and your body. And as you're doing this, something to think of is to continually kind of press the ground away. So it's like the up part of the rhomboid push-up. As you come to one arm, same thing. We don't want to collapse our shoulder like this. I'm going to press away from the ground. And keep breathing. So whatever pace feels good with your breath here. Knees can be bent, whatever helps you balance on the lower body. Right, and if you're done, please go ahead and go to your belly. If you want to finish this last one with me, go ahead and slowly lower yourself down. Take a moment to rest here. Maybe your head goes to one side or the other, or your legs can sway side to side. You can continue with whatever feels relaxing, or one thing I like to try, if it feels okay for your knee and back, is to grab the foot or the ankle and find a quad stretch here. And from there you can even kind of rotate the lower leg in and out to get different angles of that stretch. If this doesn't feel good for your knee or back, just skip it and go back to any of those movements I showed you before that might feel more relaxing. And then we'll switch sides. But if you do have mobility here, this one is a great one. I always have tight quads, and so this one is always much needed for me and feels so good. All right, from here we're going to take our arms out to the sides, cactus arms. So I'm just going to show you what my arms are doing. They're like this on the ground. And this time on your next inhale, I want you to just lift your head however you normally maybe would. So inhale, lift up. Do you feel your ribs, kind of this lower part of your ribs press into the ground? We're going to do it a different way now. So head comes back down. You can put your forehead down, but I'm going to stay turned so you can hear me a little bit better. But instead, this time see if you can lift kind of the low part of the ribs off the ground slightly. And then instead of letting your chin come forward, lift the back of your head up and think of pressing the top of your head toward whatever's in front of you. And hold there. And from there, you can even let your head kind of go a little bit side to side. But this is a way of lifting up our head and neck that actually kind of trains the muscles of the upper back to not be as rounded. And it can feel, I feel a great stretch here as I go side to side. It might be kind of a way of moving that you've never done before that might feel really good. And then we'll come back down. Let's take our shoulders underneath, fists underneath your shoulders. And then same little movement here, just letting the low ribs come up. It's a great way to start engaging the core. And then press up as one unit. And we'll kind of climb up and come back. You can either go to just your normal child's pose, or I have a variation here of lower leg moves that's really good for squat preparation. So let's go ahead and sit back to your normal child's pose, however you like to do it. And just look back at your legs and notice what position they're in. So if the knees are together or knees are apart, feet are together, feet are apart, we're going to do some variations on this that'll get kind of some areas of the hips you might have been missing. So in your child's pose, you can kind of rock side to side, and that might also get some different areas of your hips. And you can also explore kind of coming forward and untucking your pelvis, like sticking your tailbone up instead of rounding it down. And then go back. Maybe you don't go back as far and then shifting side to side, but whoa, you might find some new spots in your hips that need some love. And then you're going to kind of come off from that. We're going to try different lower leg arrangements that will probably help you feel some spots in your hips you haven't maybe been stretching yet. So this time let's take knees together and feet together, ankles together, and come back. Again, you can keep the pelvis untucked, or you can experiment with tuck and untuck and just sway side to side. You're probably going to feel a lot more hip stretch when you untuck, because we often tend to tuck our pelvis to avoid putting more hip flexion and more stretch in. So you might be missing some stretch if you're always doing your stretches in a tuck position. come back to center, and let's take the knees wide, maybe about a foot apart, but keep your feet together and sit back, and same thing, shift. And keep breathing. And then we'll release that. Let your knees go even wider, so maybe about as wide as your mat, but keep your feet together, and then sit back there and go side to side. You might even start to feel some inner thighs, some groin stretch there. All these different variations are going to give, it's kind of like doing a different stretch for your body. And we'll come out of that. Let's go back to feet together, knees together, and this time widen your feet and your knees the same amount, so maybe about a foot each, and then sit back. And it's going to feel different from when you had your knees in the very same place but your feet were together. So we're targeting all kinds of different mobilities here, the lower leg and the hip. And then we'll come out of that one and go maybe almost as wide as your mat if that feels comfortable. And same thing, you're shifting side to side. Maybe you're finding you can't shift, you can't sit back quite as far at some of these different angles, but that's great. That means you're finding some new areas of your body that you haven't been moving yet, that now you're moving and mobilizing and bringing some health to. And let's come out of that and take another breath. That was our warm-up series, so thanks for joining me.